Hello, everyone. Welcome to Crow Canyon Software's webinar on Nitro Studio. In this one, which is the third in a series of webinars on Nitro Studio, we are going to be focusing on Nitro Reports and Dashboards. The other two webinars, the first one focused on Nitro Forms and the Power Portal. The second one focused on Nitro Workflows and Custom Actions. And both those recordings of those webinars are available on our nitro.studio website. That's http nitro.studio website that is focused on the Nitro Studio program and application for your use there and involvement and exploration. So this one's going to focus on reports and dashboards inside of Nitro Studio. So I'm Scott Restivo. I've been given this series of webinars. I'm the president and CEO of Crow Canyon Software. We have been in business for nearly 20 years, producing business applications for Microsoft platforms such as SharePoint and Office 365. We also have the Nitro Studio, which we're going to explore today, one element of it, the reports and dashboards. And we also have the custom solutions that we build on top of those platforms of SharePoint and Office 365. We have a number of business applications that are more or less out of the box that you can use for your organization. These are help desk, asset management, customer service, facilities, a number of other core business applications that help your business be more successful and your organization run more efficiently inside using SharePoint and Office 365, and they run inside those platforms, so you can really leverage them as business application platforms. The Nitro Studio is another part of what we offer. That's the underlying foundation of these applications. So let's take a look at what SharePoint has out of the box. So when we started building these applications in SharePoint and Office 365, as well as Nitro Studio, we found that there were a number of things missing. Of course, SharePoint out of the box has site collections, lists, libraries, integration with AD, a number of things that can be used as a very good starting point for an application, but it was not enough. So we moved into creating a layer on top that we were used in our applications. This provided us with forms, workflows, custom columns, email sync, reporting, database integration, things that are really critical to making SharePoint and Office 365 into business application platforms. So as we built these applications, we found we needed these parts. Then over time, we found that we had actually developed a whole layer on top of SharePoint, and we call that the Nitro Layer, and this is what evolved into the Nitro Studio. The Nitro Layer provides the elements that SharePoint and Office 365 are missing. There are UI and UX elements, the forms and portals. That was the subject of the first webinar. The middle component, you could say, is that streamlines and helps automate business operations, other workflows and processes. That was the subject of the second one. And this one, the third point, is the reporting and analytics and dashboards, and that'll be the subject of this one. But together, these are the Nitro Studio, and they provide the capability to really produce applications and custom development on top of SharePoint and Office 365. And this model has been quite successful. That we have applications in use around the world, in many organizations, large, small, military, power plants, nonprofits, education, you name it. They are being used because people want to leverage SharePoint and Office 365 in ways that really produce business value and business productivity and move it towards this concept of digital transformation and digital workplace and those kind of things. So that's what our application, our Nitro Layer does, and it informs our applications and informs our custom development. But now we also offer a Nitro Layer as a Nitro Studio that is available to people who want to take on some of this work themselves. Build an application here or there, get the studio, and then put some lists and forms and workflows. And lo and behold, within a very short time, you have say a request management system or some other kind of application that can really solve a need that you have in your organization. Also, the Nitro Studio has turned out to be a very viable solution for InfoPath forms replacement. So if someone has been using InfoPath forms, and they have a number of forms. Well, our Nitro forms and the other components of Nitro Studio can take over what InfoPath, which is being deprecated by Microsoft and hasn't really been replaced by them. Certainly Nitro Studio can fill that gap as well as help other applications. You move off other applications like Lotus Notes or other type workflow type applications that are outdated to a more modern platform that uses mobile, cloud, Office 365, SharePoint, and all those kinds of things. So it allows quick development. It can build simple or complex applications. It doesn't necessarily preclude you from using other SharePoint tools. So Nitro Studio is quite a good tool to have in your kit to develop or enhance SharePoint and Office 365. Now I say develop, it isn't really any development like custom code. It's more like just power user, savvy SharePoint user kind of world where you come in and use the utilities provide to make up your forms, workflows. And in this case, we'll look at reporting today. So reporting and analytics. Let's look at why that's an important part of it. Well, if you have the forms and portal for the UI and UX to engage and empower users, you have the workflows and processes to streamline and automate business processes and workflows. But out of that, you want to know in your application where you can improve and what areas are giving you the most trouble, how the performance of the application is happening. And that's where the third element of the Nitro Studio comes into place, and that's reporting and analytics. And with this, you can drive a continuous cycle of improvement that helps you identify root causes and fix them. Because if you're having some recurrent incidents, recurrent problems, or slowdowns, or bottlenecks, or a large number of particular type of question or complaint or something, you want to be able to fix that and identify the cause. And this reporting and analytics will help you do that. And usually it breaks down into maybe there's a hardware problem or a software problem or a procedural problem or a people problem. Anyway, if you can identify the problem, then you can take the steps necessary to fix it, upgrade the hardware or software, or revise the procedures or train the people, those kind of things. That's going to help drive the continuous cycle of improvement so that your application is serving not only the immediate purpose of managing the queue and the complaints, the questions, the inquiries, the requests, but also helping drive a secondary process of improvement where you can put in other procedures or improvements or upgrades to improve the process. So of course you want good data to get good reports, and good reports make good decisions. So it's important to gather the right data during the process of running your application. So where does the data come from? Well, some of it's inherent to the form just for the fact they're filling out a request. The users fill out the form. It could be coming from an outside database. It could be system events that drive data. It could be when the workers or the technicians reassign and escalate close or put input into the log or different surveys. These are all data you're gathering as the application, as the request or inquiry or whatever goes through its process. You're gathering data. Sometimes you have to supplement it with other data purposely to get good reporting out of it. And then you have ability to drive these reports and get information you need to fuel the continuous cycle of improvement. So you want to make sure you gather the data points when you're developing your application. Make sure there's places on the form or things are recorded when maybe a status changes or whatever. So anyways, assuming you have all that data in there, you can then produce two different kinds of reports. Let's take a look at those for a moment. Two different kinds of reports are the immediate real-time views, which are done with dashboards, list views, configurable workspaces, and they really apply to the staff that's working in real time on this system, on the application, where they manage requests, complaints, questions. So we'll look at those different types of reports. In a sense, those are reports: dashboards, list views, configurable workspaces. We'll go into that in this webinar in a few minutes. Historical trends is the other type of report, and that's where you're looking more at what's the trend over time, how many, this type of problem we're having, or this type of question or whatever. Are they going up and down? Where are they coming from? What's the information we can get and garner from the system? And usually that works more at the managerial level to provide that kind of information. And they're usually more like charts, tables, graphs, and those kind of things rather than immediate dashboard kind of views. So we talked about dashboards, where you have visual displays with counters, gauges, meters. You can drill down into that. And we'll look at this in real time. in the demo. I'm just going over it right now to give you an overview of what the kind of reports are. These are the kind of immediate reports that you can see in a dashboard. There's also how you can manipulate the list views in many different ways that come with SharePoint. We'll go into that. Configurable workspaces, which can show certain information on a SharePoint page with role-based. They're easy to configure, reconfigure as needed for the particular person or role that's viewing that page. Put different web parts on it. It's very visual, so it's quite an interesting way to work on a kind of report of this immediate kind of reporting style. But then there's the historical ones where you go into a report center and you create a number of different reports in different styles, whether it's a bar graph, a pie chart, put them all together into a display. So there's different ways of presenting this information and a lot of different options here. And let's just jump right into a live demo so you can see this in action. So give me a moment to switch over to that live demo here. Oh, here we go. We're there already. Okay, what we are looking at right here is an example of a complaint or request management system for this company, imaginary company called Sticky Glue. And they get complaints, questions, inquiries, maybe something's wrong with the product they sold, and maybe it didn't get delivered, maybe there's a question about how to use it, maybe there's a complaint, all kinds of different things they're getting in from their people who use their product. And that could be accounts they have where large woodworking shops buy big barrels of glue, or it could be individual consumers who go to like Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a tube of caulking or something like that. So there's account tickets and consumer tickets. There's a number of different brands they sell. And we're trying to display information for them. And here's one of those immediate views of a dashboard style that we have here. This is called Tiles and Dials. It's part of our NITRO Studio, part of the NITRO Studio. We'll go into that. We'll go into how to configure lists to get information out of the list. We'll go into the configurable workspaces, and then we'll go into the report in the report center. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the NITRO Studio underlies this application. Now, this application could be developed or manifested in many different ways, and it depends on what you needed. This happens to be a consumer complaint, system or customer service, I guess you call it, for this company. Well, it could be an internal help desk. It could be a simple request management system. It could be a contract renewal. It could be purchasing. It could be facility. It really doesn't matter. This is just an example of the kind of reports, the kind of system and the kind of reports you can get out of it. But underlying all these applications, the custom development and the Croquet applications, is the NITRO Studio now, and the NITRO Studio has a number of components. So just to go over that briefly right now, you have your forms, your workflows. We went over those in the first two webinars. We're going to focus on reporting here. You have your Power Portal. That was part of the first webinar. A number of other components as a part of NITRO Studio that you can use to build applications. Or if you buy one of our out-of-the-box applications, you can further configure one of ours quite easily to add on a new workflow or revise the form or whatever you need to do. So we also in the middle, we have approval processes, lookup, branding, cascaded lookup, conditional formatting. We'll go into that a little today and how you configure the list views. Custom actions, we looked at in the second webinar. Email managers, email synchronizations, linked items, roll-ups, print manager, user info, and tiles and dials. We'll go into that one also, tiles and dials here. So as we go through this, we'll be accessing different elements of the NITRO Studio, mainly in this case, the reports, the conditional formatting, and the tiles and dials, and then other elements of SharePoint to produce these kind of reports. So let's go back to the home here and take a look. This is our tiles and dials, so we'll start with that. How is that configured? Well, there's a tile. You have any number of tiles you want. You have a certain heading and a certain number here of produced from this view that you selected to show in the tile. If you wanted to click, you can click down here and see all those 22 tickets that are overdue, or the 7 unassigned ones, for example. So it has drill down like that. That's the tiles part. The dials part, these arcs, are set up also in that utility, and they have different sections or segments, and you decide which one, what colors, and all those kinds of things. So to delve into that a little bit, before we get into the other aspects of reporting, let's look at the tiles and dials utility here in NITRO Studio. So we have managed tiles, we have managed dials, and we have a tab that lets you set where to put them on what page in there. In this case, we have them sitting on the home page in the particular format that you just saw. So one is managed in tiles, one is managed in dials. So here we have one group of tiles, and it's called the home tiles in this case. And if I do the preview, you can see it's the same as what we were just looking at a moment ago of the overdue, unassigned, and open ones. And that's set up because there's overdue, unassigned, and open configured tiles right here. And these are deciding what list and what view we're going to be deriving the information from, in the different navigation, different colors are all set up here so that they show up in that way. You know, blue, what the font is, the header, what the title is, you know, all these kind of things are set up here. And so when you see that in the preview, you can see that, you know, these colors and everything are set in this utility. And you could add on more tiles. You can add on, change them, you can make it whatever you want. If you want to just do certain kinds of tiles, you can say only complaints, only consumer tiles, only for a certain brand, those kind of things. So here we go with the tiles layout here is also getting more into how the tiles look, what the borders, how they're spaced, how many there are. In this case, there's 3 of them in a row, and things like that, and all that ends up being how this tile box ends up looking like it does, and where it's placed and how it is all done with this tiles and dials utility. We can go into that more. I think there's a tutorial on it in our nitro.studio website that explains it in even more detail, but hopefully that's a pretty good overview on that. So let's go back to this main screen and go look at dials now. Dials, we have 2 configured dials, tickets and brand. Just to remind, those are brands and tickets right here. And we go over to tiles and dials, tickets and brand. So in tickets, the tickets dial, we have account and consumer are the 2 segments. There's a segment for account and a segment for consumer tickets, because in this system, there are tickets from account, the woodworking shops and the cabinet makers and those kind of people. And then there's the tickets from the individual consumers, and we're just showing a dial of which one is which here. So this is a form of reporting that can help you in real time give immediate reports and provide information that's important. Now here we have red. It's from the tickets list, the account tickets, and it's red. And this one is yellow, yellowish, mustardy yellow for the consumer tickets. And that shows up and gives you a dial here, red and mustard with the total and total for each one. And the same idea for the brand. We just look at that briefly, and then you'll see the same kind of situation here with brand, where we go to brand, and in this case there's 4 segments, and each one is a particular color here of the segment. If you want to change the color, you can easily change the color to whatever you want for that segment, where the information is drawn from, and then you set them up. If you want to set them up in a different order, you can just, you know, drag and drop like that. Very easy to do. To manipulate this, and then there's dial properties of what the header would be, in this case brands, what the size is, the chart properties here, 150 by 300, and you can even do a dial preview to see what it looks like before you go and post it. Then when you have it ready and you want to put it on a page, you go to add tiles or dials to a page in the site, and you choose whether it's a specific URL or a page here in the library. You choose what library, and maybe the home page, you know, just choose what page you want to put it on, where it's placed, and whether you're going to do which tile or which dial you're going to put there and where it's placed. So that makes it very easy to set up tiles and dials, which comes from our NITRO Studio, so that you can have immediate report on any page that you can add web parts to. You can add these tiles individually, dials individually, or together like this. So that's one way to get a nice, immediate, dashboardish type look and feel to your application. There's a lot of applicability in different ways. But now let's switch gears here and go to look at the list view, the way you can configure and manipulate list views. Wait a minute, what's that? So that you can, I don't know what that was all about, but here it is. All tickets And now you can manipulate this view. Now in standard SharePoint, there's many ways you can set up views here. As you probably know, if you work with SharePoint at all, you can have a zillion and one views of all kinds of different ways. And it really is a very powerful feature of SharePoint. And when you come in, you create a view. And this is, I'm not going to belabor this too much because this is pretty much standard SharePoint right here about creating views, but you usually start from an existing view, and then you can come in and decide what columns you want to show, what order they're in. You can sort by one or more levels. You can filter. You can group by. You can have totals. I mean, just so much you can do here. And this is pretty much standard SharePoint and gives you a lot of capabilities to decide what information you're going to see here in this. Now we have this branded a little bit with our branding of having this this style of layout, but it works just as well in standard SharePoint or other branding that you do to the SharePoint site. But anyway, you have the ticket, you have some set of views listed here as well, the other ones listed here. You have the columns that you decided, and then you can come in again, standard SharePoint, just filter it by only showing the complaints, or only showing the questions, or whatever, or only showing the questions from consumers, for example, with a type, where's the consumer name, or a particular brand, let's say, like for a particular brand, these are the questions. So, you can group filter this many ways. All standard SharePoint, nothing there special about NITRO Studio, but what we did add on here is this ability to have conditional formatting. So here is our conditional formatting at work. We have turning the high priorities red at this point. Let's go look at that. We'll go over, get out of tiles and dials and go over to conditional formatting, and you'll see some really interesting things that can be done with this now. So we're working on the tickets list. And by the way, I could just as easily get to this by going here to the list and clicking conditional formatting here for this list in the list ribbons. So now we have this one setting for the tickets list. It's called priority, color, and turn it red. That's what's set up here in the list. Priority, when the priority equals high, the condition of priority equals high, it's going to set the color, apply it to just that column rather than the whole row, and it's going to show that red color. And I could apply it to the whole row, and I could turn it yellow if I wanted here. Some kind of version of yellow here. Whatever, yellow, kind of a light yellow. So let's save that and just show the differences that go on here. Oh, let me go back to the, let me go back here and refresh this. And now it's applying to the whole row of the high here. See, high is now applying to the whole row. Let me go back to the conditional formatting this way. And we can do some changes there. You can do multiple colors if you want. If you had multiple, things, you could change the priority order so that if you had multiple, say a category was green and this was that color and that was that color, you can set up the different colors. Most people do like either overdue tickets or high priority or severity high kind of tickets go a particular color. And they get, it could be a lead or opportunity system where if it's 90% likelihood of closing, it turns it a different color than if it's 20% or 50% likelihood of closing. So you can set up all kinds of conditions that show on this. I could set up another one that says if priority equals normal or low, let's say priority equals low, it changes it to, oh, wait a minute, that's not quite right. I'd set up a second one. Sorry, I'd set up a second setting here that said if priority is low, turn it like blue. So it'd be a new priority. When the condition is low, set it to blue or whatever. So you can do things like that and have a really interesting formatting going on inside the system and how you want to do that. Just set up a priority equals low, and we're going to make a color of a light blue, some kind of blue color here, something like that, a very light blue. Something like that, and apply to the whole row, and that's going to obviously operate on the priority column, and save that. So now we have two color things here, and let's see if any of these are actually a low priority. If they were, it would show up a light blue color here. I don't know if any are. I guess not, but if it was a light blue color, it would turn that. So let's just change that to low priority. And then we're going to have blue there, just to show that that works. See, now it turned it blue there. Where was it? That color, this kind of bluish gray that we decided change it there. So anyway, that's the way you can set that up like that. Now let's go into something else, other things we can do with the conditional formatting. And I'll take that one off because that's not really necessary. Okay, now other things you can do with conditional formatting are quite interesting. If you want to come in here and add something else, let's say every time, you know, the category, let's call it category. And we're going to say we want to display an icon. And we're going to choose an icon here. Let's say like a green check mark or something. Where is it going to go? To the right of it? To the right of the, let's say the column value would be to the left of the icon, and that's going to be on the category column here. And you can also upload other icons of your own if you wanted. You could choose a file and put it there and then have an icon in there. So we're going to save this. And if you think about it, what this is going to do is put this green mark at every green check mark at every category here, because it is didn't do any conditioning on it, right? So there it is. All of them are green to the right of the category name, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's go here and change this a little bit. So we're going to go here and say when the condition is the category is equal to complaint, we're going to make a red box, a red check mark here, and now save it. And now this makes a little bit more sense, because now we're just highlighting, instead of every category, we're highlighting the ones that are complaints, are the ones that have the red next to it. Now it goes over here because of the number of columns. If the columns were, if it was more spread out, it would be right to the right here of this system. So I'll just take out one of these fields. Let's see if I can take out one of these fields and see if that helps. Okay. And go in here. Yeah, it's still got to be a little bit wider. But anyways, you have the complaint there. You can also not show the word, the value if you wanted. You could, you know, make it a different icon. You could have different icons for different ones. This is kind of interesting because you can do a lot with this according to not just category, but maybe the account or the level of, is it a VIP or not? I mean, you can do all kinds of interesting things with the formatting here. I'm gonna go back here and change this so we don't have that whole yellow, so it's just the, applies just to the column. We'll do that. So that's two things you can do. You can do a coloring icon. You can also do another one that's interesting here, and that is set up a progress bar. And the progress bar is often set up on the % complete, and we're gonna do a progress bar based on the % complete column. It's only gonna show you number columns here, so it's % complete is 1, 0 to 100 is right, and then the % complete is the field we're going to use. So what we're doing is set up a progress bar on % complete from 0 to 100. Based on that, we're going to show a progress bar over here on the list view. Of course, we got to show, come in here and show % complete in order to see the progress bar. So let's get % complete onto this view. And now when we have % complete on this view, we'll be able to see that progress bar that we just set up. And notice that you can have multiple of these icons and colors going at the same time. So the conditional formatting can really help identify different aspects of these tickets. You have the red checkbox for complaints category, you have the yellow for the high priority, and you have the % complete bar, which also shows you the numbers here of how much % it actually is. So this is kind of a very interesting way to enhance and give you a reporting aspect to your system that's going to help in real time with an immediate view on what's going on here with the tickets and that kind of thing in your reporting. So that's the kind of immediate views that we're talking about. One other thing we talked about are these workspaces, creating configurable workspaces. So here you have a manager workspace that's been configured. It is a page inside of SharePoint that has various elements plopped into it. This is a list view element. These are the reports. We'll go into the report center in a moment. These are NITRO reports that are put here. and how they're placed. And of course, you can come in and edit this and move everything around, or take them off or add them on, whatever you need to do, and have different workspaces for different roles, or even per individual. If you wanted, you could have different workspaces going on with different elements on it, as short or as long as you want. Notice the red mark right here from our conditional formatting. So you go here and you can add on more and more and more if you want, whatever's appropriate. So you can really make your configurable workspaces appropriate, your list views appropriate, your tiles and dials, to really be addressing what kind of application it is and what you need to show in it. Now, moving into the more historical kind of reports, we're going to go into the Report Center. Again, part of NITRO Studio here is the Report Center. We have the NITRO Reports right here. We looked at conditional formatting, we looked at tiles and dials, but now we're going to look at reports, and I have that open here, the Report Center right here. So the Report Center could be gotten to from that Studio Apps. It can be gotten to from the nav bar at the top. You can also put it into the quick launch. But when it comes up, there's a Report Center sitting here, and it's going to show you the reports that have already been created in this site, and it's going to display whatever one you click there. It's going to display it, what it is. Now, when you have the report, you can now, once it's generated, you can come in and export it to PDF, export it as an image, email it to somebody, or print it out, the report. And we are adding in scheduling as we speak. That's a project we're working on currently, so you can actually schedule these reports to go out at certain times. We should have that ready in a month or two, that you can just come in and say, schedule this report to go out to the manager every day at a certain time. So then you have all your list of reports that you want here, different formats of the reports can come here, different ways. Now, how are these reports created? Well, that's with our report manager. So if you click Manage Reports, you're going to go to the Report Manager tool. That's part of NITRO Studio. This tool has the ability to manage the reports, configure reports, manage the themes, and add the reports to pages, such as that configurable workspace that I just went to, those staff workspace and that manager workspace. On there, you're going to have the ability to add those to those through this Add Report to Pages section there. So going over to the report definitions, one of the tabs, let's take a look at what a report has in it. Let's take incoming tickets by month, for example, and see how it's configured. So we have a report here that's been configured. It's in our Report Center. I'm going to go back and just show you that as right here, incoming tickets by month, right there. That's the one we're looking at, incoming tickets by month. You can do a preview here in your Report Manager and see that right here. And there's a title, it's just a title. Site, ticket list, what view. Now, one thing we do in ours, we use views very often to be a filter on what data is displayed. So creating the right view is important to get the right data. You may want open tickets, you may want different kinds of, like, restricted by maybe the type of complaint or the type of brand, or open tickets or closed tickets, whatever. But in this case, we're doing all items and we're showing it as a chart. You can show it as a table also. And the chart types that you have are both, actually, table and chart both. You also have different chart types: line, column, bar, area, pie, and funnel that you can do here. Say we wanted this as a line. Well, if we go here, now we have a line. There's a big spike in January, apparently, of incoming tickets. And we're doing this by the month using the created date. If you want to do closed dates, what tickets were closed in those months, you could do that. How many tickets were closed? You could, if you had a view that restricted it to a certain person or something, you could say, how many tickets did that person do that month, and that kind of thing. And then down here are the cell values. We're doing the count, and then we're using the default theme. I'll go to themes in a moment. But I want to show that you can come in here and say, okay, if I want to change, say I just want to see the complaints. So I have a view of just that's restricted to complaints, and it's going to show me incoming complaints by the month. See, these are the number of complaints each month because I've restricted to the complaints. What about the tickets by brand? Well, may I go here and see how many sticky glue brand tickets there were. And now you see that there were sticky glue had a spike of 7 right there. So you can sort of create, and then if you're going to save this report, you'd give it a different name, incoming tickets by month, sticky glue, or something like that. Incoming tickets, sticky glue tickets, whatever. So you could have, take this report and modify it and have different information displayed in different ways that you want on this report. I'm just going to cancel this one out so I don't affect what's there already. So let me cancel that. And we can look at some of these other reports. Here's the tickets by brand. Now you can go ahead and create new reports if you want, of course. It's very easy to do. So here we go, tickets by brand. It's a column chart. So you can see that and it gives you the number as you roll over it. On there, tickets by brand. So that way, if we want to do a table or both, try both and see what happens. It's going to give us both a table. It's a very simple table there, but it gives us a table, ticket by brand. Now, tables come into play a bit more when there's usually like more of a matrix or cross-reference here. So let's do one. The tickets by category and priority might be one where we get a more table. Let's see what I have going here. Show report. Oh, give me a second. It's loading. Okay. Yeah, that's not much. Let's go back and look at some of these other reports we have here that give you. Oh, here's one that I think is good. So this one, I think we could do both on this one too. So let's do both. Yeah, you get more of a table with priority, normal, low, high, category, what kind of category it is. But you also can see that up here that there's 6 normal, 7 high, 1 normal, 2 high, and that reflects the information we have down here also. So either way, you can do that and generate that report. We'll go back to just being chart. Now, one thing we can do, one thing I want to point out about this system of reporting is that in the report center, if I click this, it's green. If I click it, it's red. If I click it, it's whatever. Well, that's because the default theme does not determine the exact color. So one thing we added here is the fact that you can come in here and create other themes that put out what colors are used in the form according to what you want to see on your reports. So if I go here and I say to one of these reports, say tickets by brand, for example, and I want to apply a certain theme to it, all I have to do is go down here and say, okay, here's my theme. I'm going to give it that theme of the green, save it. And just as an aside, notice this allows you to either show it in the report center or not show it. You don't have to show every report in the report center if you don't want to. But back to the theme aspect, if I save that, now every time I open up that report, it's going to have the same colors. Let's go actually open it up from here. It'll be better. Tickets by brand. In any case, that is giving you control over the theme and how it's displayed in terms of colors and formatting there. So it's good to have ability to do themes. Next, what'd be interesting though is, to talk to people here who are interested in this application about how to produce XYZ report. Because actually when you do these reports, you can get much more sophisticated than we're showing here, because you can go in and start to do calculations on various fields that will show the different status depending on what fields you have. So we have a number of different calculations that can go on this. So let me put up one that is let me use an existing report right here. It'll be a little bit easier to do it that way. Go in here, and you select a column, and you'll see that there's many different kinds of ways you can calculate depending on what kind of field it is. If I change this to ID, perhaps, you can do different kinds of calculations. You can do cost. You can see you can do a count, a sum, a minimal, average. So when you start to put those in, you're able to produce more sophisticated reports based on, say, an average of the cost, or an average of the minimum and maximum. You can do the minimum, the maximum, the average, the count. So this provides different ways to display the reporting information on your chart, or or whatever, and then you can get different values that are important to you depending on what you need in your application. So it'd be good to get a, if you did say, oh, in my application, I want to do this, I want to get this kind of count, you can. Every application is a little bit different. So you're going to have different calculations in different ways you want to display the information and how you display it. So there's a lot more to it than just is shown here. And we can dig into it. We have reporting as a tutorial specifically going, and we can dig into it more and more. Right now, I want to also point out that there are, just like in the tiles and dials, there's ways to add these reports to different pages. So if we want to add a report to a particular page, say the staff workspace right here, we want to add a report, we would go here and select that staff workspace. It's in the workspaces library, and it's called, oddly enough, it's called staff workspace. And we're going to put it into the left column of that page, and the zone index can be 0 or 1 or whatever. But what report are we going to put here? Well, let's do that incoming tickets by month. And we're going to call it that, incoming tickets by month. Incoming tickets by month. And this is size seems reasonable, but we could change it if we want. And if we add it, okay, it says it's been added to the staff workspace. So let's look. It's not here now, so let's do a refresh. And there it is, incoming tickets by month is now here on this page. And we just added it simply by going there. And then if we wanted to, we'd go into this page and maybe take off the My Task down here. It's kind of on its own. So anyways, that gives you a way to quickly add and create dashboard pages using the this ability in the report center here, the report management tool, to add reports to a page in the site. You can also add it to a specific URL if you had a URL you wanted added to, and you can add it to different areas of the page, right column, middle column, whatever settings on that page there are, and different zones inside the column. That's whether it's that just decides where it is, with and according to other elements that are in that left column. So 0 is 0 base, so it comes out on top. If it was not 1, it would have been below My Task instead of above it. And then the other part of this is that the report center itself, that wouldn't be there. The report center itself is a web part that can be added to a page. In this case, we have added report center to this page called Workspaces Report Center. And this whole unit itself is a web part that's added to a particular page. The program comes with it already there, but if you did want to add the report center to one or more pages, you could. And then that gives you the ability to see the reports as well as manage them. Now let's look at this again a little bit more on the report center and see what happens if we do PDF. We get a report PDF right here that we can open up, take a look at, and send it or save it or do whatever we want with it. If we do an image, it's the same idea. An image shows up that we could then do what we want or paste somewhere or whatever we needed to do with it. We can send an email out with the PDF when the report attaches a PDF or an image, and send it to whoever we want with the text we want to put here. We can send it out. And like I said, we're going to automate that so that you can schedule these emails to go out regularly. That's an active project that we're adding on right now to this, to the NITRO Studio. And you could print it if you wanted to print this report. You could print it out, save it as PDF, and print it that way to go out. And if you wanted some reports to show up here, this could be, see, if you wanted some reports to show up here or not show up, there was that option inside the report definitions that shows whether to show it in the report center or not, right here. Down the bottom, whether to show it there or not is right there in this report center. So there's the manage reports, this tool right here, and there's the report center, which is more of the visual element and display of the report there. there we have a reporting capabilities inside of NITRO Studio. We have the dashboards with the tiles and dials. We have the list views where we can add conditional formatting. We have the configurable workspaces where you can add tiles, dials, reports, list views, all kinds of interesting things you can add to those pages. And we have this report center where you can create new reports and also manage them or add them to pages and change the definitions and the themes as you want here. Now, someone could ask, may have asked about Power BI or other type tools that will interact with our data. Well, certainly those can be used also in conjunction with this, and it's not like our report center's only way to utilize data that's inside the application, the NITRO Studio system you're building. You can certainly use Power BI or other tools you're familiar with if you wanted to, in addition or in lieu of this report center. That's really your choice on that. We do want to give you this one where you can get these kind of reports out and have them available for save as PDF or email or print, and be able to manage them or place them in different areas of your application. Now, since we do have a little bit more time, let's see if there's any questions. Exporting the NITRO form as a PDF. Yeah, James answered that there is a print manager tool that, let me just delve into. It's not really report related, but it does kind of give you some, I guess you could say that's kind of a reporting option. So in reporting in a sense like this, say I'm in the ticket list right here, and say I want to look at all the overdue tickets. So I just have a report called overdue tickets, a view. It's not really a report, it's a view. It's not a report yet. Now the thing is, I want to send a list of this to somebody. Well, you could tell them to go to this page and take a look at this view, but maybe they don't want to do that or don't have access to it. You can come in here and print with our print manager right here, which is part of the NITRO Studio. You can go find a template. It could be all templates, ticket templates. Here's overdue tickets. It's one template we have going already. That's going to print out all the overdue tickets right here. And again, you can print them, PDF, save as an image, or email it. And this is going to be the overdue tickets listed right here. Well, why does it look the way it does? Well, that's because the template inside our print manager utility for a list template of overdue tickets, we have templates that print lists and templates that print individual items. So printing a list would be right here in overdue tickets. I mean, right here in the list of print templates is one called overdue tickets, is what I meant to say. And you can also, generate a new one right here. Let's look at what it has in it. This is pretty cool because it has a lot of options. It has these tabs at the top. You're giving it a name, what list. You're using the view called overdue tickets. Here's the columns that are going to show up: title, account, contact, email, request status. You have different styles you can use of what the table is going to look like as far as borders, alignment. It's going to be odd and even, different colors. We can make that, just to show that kind of in action. It's not really a very good color. Something like that. Just have a white, dark kind of view there. We have a header called overdue tickets. We can have a footer, a report generated at so-and-so time. And it can also actually generate barcodes and QR codes. So that doesn't really apply to a list template in this case. But here we go. Let's take a look at this. Settings, and maybe add on another field here with title, account, contact email, request status, and maybe due date. We'll just add on because that might be important when you're doing overdue tickets, right? So we'll save that. And we just re-updated this overdue tickets template. If we go back here and regenerate this, let's cancel this and regenerate it. The overdue tickets list, overdue tickets. It now has due date on here, and you have this alternating rows because it's blue, white that I did there of the odd row being the 1, 3, 5, right? So there you go with your setup here. I could have added a footer in. I could have changed this around a bit, but then you could just go ahead and save that as PDF. And it's a report. Yeah, I guess, in a sense, it's a report, right? Every sense of the word. It's not a graphical or table, but it is a table, but it's not a graphical report, but there it is. And you could send that out to somebody and get a list of all overdue tickets. and put whatever field you want in here and different numbers, like maybe ticket ID or whatever, or who it's assigned to, you know, whatever works, and then send that out to somebody and say, here's all the overdue tickets that we have for that. And of course, that could be any kind of ticket, all open tickets. It could be overdue, open, ticket templates. And then you can also, in addition to this, if you're in an individual list, you can print out, individual item, you can print that individual item out. In this case, it would be the ticket template. Here we go. And this is a ticket template that's, again, set up in that print manager utility to show what fields we want and how many columns. So let's take a look at that template for a moment. Over here in the print manager, we have item print templates called the ticket template, and that's set up to print in this format with the different columns that we just did. Column value, placeholders, you know, from the ticket, and you can arrange this in different ways. This works well for doing things like maybe purchase, invoice, or to send out a work order to somebody or things like that. And I know I'm getting a little bit away from reporting, but I think the printing out of the list qualifies as a kind of report. The individual item itself, well, this is just an interesting part of our print manager that is good for you to know about and when using NITRO Studio. Because NITRO Studio encompasses not just the reporting and dashboards and all that, but all these other elements in here. So together, all this parts together makes a very powerful way to provide application creation, development inside your in your hands to do this. If you want to take a site or a SharePoint site, Office 365 site, and modify it to be really functional. A request management system, for example, works really well with this, or purchasing, or anything that needs approval if you put our advanced approval elements on it. And meanwhile, it also underlies all of our big applications, the premium applications you might call, which are like the full-fledged IT help desk, customer service, and all that. That's all in here. So there's an awful lot to NITRO Studio. There's an awful lot to reporting and dashboards element. There we have gone over this. There's this webinar. There's also the 2 previous webinars we did here on nitro.studio site. Let me show you that. That's part of Crow Canyon's world here. It's going to come up. Here we go, NITRO Studio. And there's features, components, pricing, resources. In our resources, we have the overviews, and this webinar will serve this 3rd block here. We have the forms, the workflows, and we put in this webinar right here as the reporting and dashboards element. And so people can come in and look at both the overview of the NITRO Studio as well as the how-to videos that are here listed. And also, you know, we really encourage to just get a trial, give a trial of the NITRO Studio, see what it's like, free 30 days. The pricing is real low. At this point, we have the simple pricing of $49 per site per month. This is our introductory pricing because we just released it this spring. We also have 3 site packages. So quite something that I would encourage people to take a serious look at if you're interested in this. It would have many, many features and components, and it comes out of our Crow Canyon's, well, 12 odd years of SharePoint development, as well as over 20 years of application development experience. And we also like to hear back from our people who use the program, use the studio, and say, oh, we need this, we need that, where's that feature, where's this? So it's a dialogue or a co-creation process of making this studio as useful and practical for your use as possible. And doing these webinars is part of that. I hope this has been useful. And it's time, we're just about at the top of the hour. Let's see, when does the NITRO Studio introductory pricing end? Well, we haven't quite determined yet. We're going to see how it goes, but definitely by the end of the summer. If you get on the 30-day trial now, you would be qualified for that. We'll see how things go with it, but it seems like that it's good to get on a 30-day. Anybody that gets on a 30-day trial this month will definitely be qualified for that introductory pricing. And hopefully you can take us up on that and stay in communication about what it can do and how it can enhance your SharePoint and Office 365. So I hope it's been useful. I think I'll end now. You can always contact us. I'll bring up that slide with our contact us information on it so you can stay in touch with us. Here it is. And let me see. Here it is. Here we go. Stay in touch. Switch to screens. And then you'll see it right there. Okay, I guess I gotta do all this. There we go. I'll say sales@croquet.com or call. We put out blogs. NITRO.studio is the website. You can do the trial download. So anyway, I hope this has been a very useful time for you to see what's available and what's possible inside of NITRO Studio, particularly the NITRO Reports and dashboards. And hope to hear from you. And please stay in touch. And thank you again for attending this webinar. Bye-bye for now.